Hello Internet and welcome to this day in history for the 14th of October. Now, today we are going back to 1066. We already dealt with 1066 before because I mentioned the day where William the Bastard of Normandy put his army on fleets and sailed to conquer England. Well, today he conquered England, because today, in 1066, was the Battle of Hastings, where Edward's heavy French Nordic cavalry, I suppose you should say, decisively beat Harold's very war-weary English army that had also been fighting at Stamford Bridge against the Norwegian invaders just a few days ago. The effects of this battle have been discussed many times. It led to the, shall we say, Norman deification of England. It led to the split between the old Anglo-Saxon and the new Normandy regime for a couple of centuries, which led later to such books such as Ivanhoe and Robin Hood and so on and so forth. But we're actually not going to discuss this particular thing because that is the simple way. Everyone knows what the Battle of Hastings led to. We're going to discuss the fact that the Battle of Hastings was the last time Britain was actually successfully invaded from the outside. Mind you, I'm kind of ignoring the Glorious Revolution of 1688 here, but it's worth noticing that if James had had support of his own people, William would never have been able to land with his army and actually win that battle. James would have annihilated his army as it made landfall if the British in fact had been united behind him, instead of basically all of them wanting William to come over and rid themselves of a Catholic king they didn't particularly care for. But that was a sideline. More specifically is the fact that ever since the Stone Age, or at least the early to mid-Bronze Age, Britain had been successfully, an interesting choice of words I chose there. Britain had been successfully invaded by a lot of people. There were the Brits, there was the Anglo-Saxons, there was the Celts, there was a lot of people who had come in one after another, pushed the previous peoples out to the fringes of like Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Cornwall and so on, taken over the central heartlands, and then themselves being pushed out to the outskirts as the next wave of invaders came in. And so eventually what we today call the indigenous tribes of Britain were, of course, nothing of it. They were a mixture of previous invaders now themselves being invaded. But with William's invasion of 1066, Britain became basically inviolable. No one managed to truly do a full invasion of Britain ever again. Hell, it was not even really attempted. Well, France tried a couple of times, Spain tried as well, but something always got in the way. And this inviolability in their own island nation is what basically allowed the British to recover from any setback and eventually become the world dominant culture, as they of course would become from around the year 1700 and up until the First World War. So why was this? Well, first of all, it was because the Normans had a strong intention of just gathering the entire country under their cultural sphere. No more of this thing about driving people out to the outskirts and then just being okay with being nominal rulers of everything while focusing on your own people and your own core lands. No, the Normans literally pushed out, conquered all of the British islands if they could at all lay their hands on them, and forced them to become Normans. Now, you can say that this is a bad thing since it's basically colonization in its worst efforts, but to a certain degree it also meant that it created a unified Britain where all of Britain's resources could finally be drawn upon to resist outside invaders and outside powers, and this was basically what allowed the Normans to thrive as a culture and survive as the dominant culture of Britain for the last 1,000 years, where everyone else had eventually fallen to outside coming forces. But yeah, that was this day in history for the 14th of October, the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Until next time, I hope this has been of interest to you. I have been the Sage, and I wish you all a very happy day.